Hey everyone, this is JVD from the Villains of Man, bringing you another comic book review about Marvel Civil War 2, issues 0 through 8. I would like to note that this also had an issue for Free Comic Book Day, which takes place about issue 2 or 3 in the story. I think maybe 2, somewhere around there. But good luck picking that up. But basically, this is kind of Marvel's print version of Minority Report. There's this college student, Ulysses Kane, who winds up being formed into a Inhuman by the Terrigen Cloud. And his ability is to see events that's going to happen in the future. And after repelling this celestial destructor from basically all the heroes on Earth taking it to do so, Tony Stark and everybody else finds out it's this kid, Ulysses, who was with the Inhumans, that had told Captain Marvel, which I will call Miss Marvel, because that's what Carol Danvers will always be to me, is Miss Marvel, about it. And it basically starts a dispute between her and Tony, which leads to another Marvel Civil War. And if you know anything about this book, it's almost like promotion for the MCU Civil War. So it's basically kind of rehashed from, I believe that's 2006's Civil War. I believe that's when Civil War come out. And it's basically the same principles. Heroes pick one side, heroes pick the other, they fight each other. So except for there's not villains involved with this one. So overall, I thought this was, it was an okay story. Once you get to issue 5 and the big battle breaks out between both groups, 6, 7, and 8 read really fast. I swear it felt like I read those in 5 minutes. But I would give it a shot. If I had to hunt down these issues, much like you had to do the first run of Civil War once the movie was announced, I don't think I would. I think I'd more settle for a trade paperback or even the Marvel Unlimited app if you wanted to read them. But as the guys say, now I'm getting into spoiler territory because, you know, they want me to warn people of spoilers, so that's what I'm going to do. To me, there's not really a whole lot to spoil because, towards the end of this book, the only thing that's going to get spoiled is possible futures Ulysses sees. But basically, what sets this war off is Ulysses gets a vision of Thanos coming after a cosmic cube at Pegasus Labs. I think that's where that's at, yeah. And that's what takes place in the Free Comic Book Day book. That's where you find out about that. And basically, they ambush Thanos, and he doesn't think they're supposed to be there. And well, because he's Thanos and he's a badass, he basically beats the shit out of everybody before they can take him down. And he basically almost kills She-Hulk, and he basically punches a hole through Rudy. And that's what starts the whole thing. Tony, being a futurist, thinks that you should let the future play out to what it should be, not try to prevent it, much like I said, in Minority Report. You know, because you don't know what people are going to do in that time. And then it comes down to the point that, you know, how accurate are Ulysses' visions? You know, are they based off of what he perceives or how he feels at the time? And it becomes a really interesting dynamic. And Miss Marvel, she is very determined that they are real because most of the time what's happening is they're, what he's seeing is being prevented, and they are saving lives. So, what really sets it off after Rhodey's death, which really draws the line for Tony Stark and the all-new, all-different Avengers, is that Ulysses gets a vision of the Hulk, and he's basically, the city around him is destroyed, and he's in a rage. And it's almost like they're fearful of another World War Hulk event. So no one knows where Banner is except for Carol Danvers, and she goes to confront him about what he's going to do. And you find out that he's using dead Hulk cells to basically keep the Hulk at bay. And she's going to put him under arrest just to prevent him from becoming Bruce Banner. I mean, he is Bruce Banner, God. The Hulk, excuse me. And when he steps outside, like, all the Avengers are there. Like, everybody that could possibly try to stop him is there. And he's very angry about the whole thing. And she tells him what he's going to do, and he's like, look, I haven't had an incident in a year. And he's trying to get them to believe it. And he's getting very animated, much like you would be fearful of from Bruce Banner, because usually this means he's going to turn to the Hulk, and he doesn't change. And then all of a sudden, an arrow hits him, kills him, and everybody's kind of shocked. And they chase down to the woods where it come from, and it's Clint Barton, Hawkeye. And he gets put on trial for this. This wasn't seen in the Vision. It was just that you seen the Hulk rampaging. And I believe he had Iron Man's helmet. Well, during the trial, Clint reveals that he has an arrow which Bruce Banner created that would kill the Hulk if he ever lost control. And he only trusted Clint to do it because he knew he could be the guy to pull the trigger. And he trusted Clint because he knew Clint would be the one person who could live with it. And through everybody's testimony, Miss Marvel, Iron Man's, Hawkeye's, he is acquitted of the murder and walks off scot-free. And then as Civil War goes on, you find out that more and more people are backing this. The people are, I think even at one time in the Invincible Iron Man ongoing series, he's even up to like a 94% approval rate for doing what he done. So it's pretty impressive. And anyways, this is what draws the line, because Tony kidnaps Ulysses, is trying to study his brain to figure out how it works. It leads to a big confrontation after all this. And they fight on the Trickelson, and it's basically Miss Marvel, her team of Ultimates, the Inhumans versus, and some of the X-Men, Storm's Extraordinary X-Men group, versus Tony, the all-new Avengers, everybody that's against this. And during it, when the Inhumans and stuff show up, Ulysses has he has a vision, and everybody feels it. And you see Miles Morales holding a dead Captain America. And what's the first thing Carol's going to do? She is going to arrest him, which starts another dispute. And it doesn't bleed off into a fight and whatnot. And, so they're arguing back and forth, and Tony's trying to tell her, this is it. It's too much. It's a kid. You can't do this. He's never done anything wrong. He doesn't believe it. And this is where people start to get really torn and question the decision of, Carol to do this. And Captain America's like, look, son, just leave. It'll be what it'll be. I don't think you'll do it. Well, anyways, Miles goes to Washington, and you're not sure what he's going to do. If he's going to turn himself in or whatnot. The cops show up. They're going to arrest him because it's got out, that he's going to kill Captain America. Carol has Maria Hill tell him to stand down. Captain America shows up, talks to him. And then she shows up, Iron Man shows up. And he's got almost like this massive, it's like the size of the Hulkbuster, but it looks like War Machine. And it's got all these weapons, and it's basically geared up to fight Carol. And they have this big fight. And basically, she punches a hole at him. And it puts him in a coma. And that is how the story ends off. Because, oh no, it doesn't, my bad. Ulysses gets called by Eternity, the embodiment of the Marvel Universe, to take his ride amongst the Celestials. So that's pretty interesting. So, like I said, overall, it's not a bad story. It wouldn't be something that I'd rush around and try to collect every issue. It's not as good as the original Civil War. Like I said, it's more of a selling point for Captain America Civil War, the movie. The book starts off, the first issue, it's got a lot of really good foreshadowing for what's going to happen with the She-Hulk during the court case. She's trying to defend the Jester, saying that he was recorded talking about, reminiscing about good times, but he was trying to break away from that. And, it's basically defending him like they're trying to say, hey, just because we have you on tape, we feel that you're going to do this, you should go back to prison. And she's defending that, hey, just because he talked about it doesn't mean it's going to happen. And it's really good foreshadowing by Bendis. And I will rant and rave about Bendis. I think he's one of the best writers out there. What he's done for Marvel in the past decade is a testament to it. They love the guy to death. He writes a lot of their big events. And usually when he gets a character, he gets almost every ongoing series wrapped around that character, which he's currently doing Iron Man and International Iron Man. So that says a lot about him. I mean, when he was writing Avengers, he wrote all the Avengers titles. When he was doing X-Men before this, he was writing all the X-Men titles. So it says a lot about how great of a writer he is, and the foreshadowing with this trial really shows you how great he is. There's a really good point in the book where Tony is snooping around New Attilan, the Inhuman city, and they kind of find him, and Karnak, you know, goes fight him, and Tony's like, I know your thing is find a weakness. I'm prepared for that. You won't find a weakness. But later on, when he kidnaps Ulysses, Karnak finds a weakness in his building, which is interesting. He says he's going to take it down. And I can't ever recall seeing that happen at all, but I thought that was really cool that he's going to basically cripple Stark Tower, bring it to the ground. The Hawkeye, where he kills Bruce Banner, there's something interesting there, because during his trial, he says that he's seen his eyes flicker green, and, you know, Hawkeye goes to, you know, goes on about that's his thing. He has such keen perception, and that's why he's such a good shot, and that's why Banner trusted him with the arrow, because he knew if he ever seen any chance that he would Hulk out, he would kill him. And I even went back after the trial just to that spot in the book, and not once did I ever see his eyes green in any of the panels. He was just very animated. So it's almost, you know, what was his motive? Did he see something no one else seen, and maybe is this going to play out later? I'm very curious to see how that happens. What might come of that? Like I said, issue 5 is where everything really picks up. Everything gets really, really fast-paced. Out of all the potential futures that Ulysses has seen, nothing really caught my attention. But what's really cool is the first future he sees is he meets Old Man Logan. And if you know anything about the Old Man Logan story, at the end he winds up killing the Hulk family. And then the annual for Wolverine, where that deals with Old Man Logan, he goes back and he fights the Hulk. When he meets the Hulk, when he meets Old Man Logan, he's being attacked by one of the Hulk's inbred children, and Wolverine kills him, you know, and he tells everybody, hey, you know, let him know that I'm doing this. And so it's almost like it's a possible future, which let's see, I think that's a Remender that started the Old Man Logan stuff in Fantastic Four, so we know it's a possible future. But he says it's all because of Tony. That's the way that things are, and not to let Carol, you know, not to let her do what she's going to do. So I'm curious, because in the Old Man Logan story, all the villains get together and decide to attack the heroes with a coordinated front. And that's how they wind up taking over the world. But Old Man Logan here says that it's Tony that caused this. So I'm curious to maybe see how this bridges together to that story. But it's Marvel. It's an alternate future. There's no telling that if that is even the legit future of Marvel. One thing I thought was really cool during this fight is during the fight, Miss Marvel calls on the Guardians of the Galaxy, because she was part of the team at one time, to help her fight Tony and his team of Avengers. And Venom, who is now Flash Thompson, tangles up with Miles Morales, and you know, he's talking, you know, he's not the Spider-Man that he knows, and because, you know, Flash has a lot of respect for Spider-Man, it's his hero. And what's crazy is Miles' Spider Sense works against Venom, and throughout Peter Parker's history, Venom has always never set off his Spider Sense. So I thought that was really neat, considering Miles is from the Ultimate Universe. So maybe this works different now that he's here, and I'm not really sure what universe you would call this in, because 616 was destroyed during Secret Wars. So I thought that was really neat. And the Guardian ship gets blown up during the battle, so they're stuck on Earth, is what it seems like. Other than that, off the top of my head, I can't think of anything that really caught my attention. It was nice to see that I felt that Tony was on the right side. That's the side I chose all this. And the thing is, Cap is on his side. And he even told everybody, you don't ever go against Captain America. And he makes that reference during the first Civil War. Is Cap was right, he went against him, and it really went bad for him. And now he's trying to get everybody to realize that Captain America's on his side. Don't choose against him, that he's on the right side. And at the end of the book, you know, you really don't know whose was the right side, because Ulysses gets taken by Eternity, and there's no clear-cut winner here. But at the end of the book, which kind of plays back to the first part of the book, is Rudy has been called by who you assume is the president, and he's going to be the Secretary of Defense. And basically the president's kind of setting him up to be president one day. And now that he's dead, and, you know, Carol was his girlfriend at the time, by what she's done with these visions from Ulysses, now the president is going to set her up to become president. So I'm curious to see how that'll play out. Like I said, otherwise, this book, it's good. It's not worth rushing out to try to collect all the issues. You know, like I said, find a trade paperback. You know, read it on the Marvel Unlimited app. You don't have to have all the issues of this. And I think I'm missing a couple issues, and I'm not even worried about finding them. Eventually, hopefully, I'll find them for $1, because in the end, I am a collector. But like I said, story's alright. It's not the original Civil War, but it does give you all the feelings you get from that book, except for the epicness of that happening the first time and this being the second time. But I'm JVD. Hope you enjoyed this review for Civil War 2. Go check out our review for the very first Civil War, and check out our review for Civil War during the Secret Wars crossover. But I'm JVD with Villains of Man. Keep reading, guys.